A seemingly normal day on the Johnson family farm took a dramatic turn when a massive sinkhole suddenly appeared in their backfield. The family, shocked and concerned about the potential dangers, immediately notified the authorities. When the police arrived to assess the situation, they peered into the depths of the sinkhole, expecting to find nothing more than earth and rock. However, what they discovered at the bottom made their faces turn pale, a sight far beyond the ordinary hazards of a natural sinkhole. "There they are. I'll open the door," Erica said to her husband when she saw the officers approaching their house. She and her husband, Mark, had been waiting inside while the police investigated the sinkhole that had so mysteriously appeared on their land, and they were curious to hear what they had found down there. She opened the door and bombarded the officer with questions. "Sir, did you find anything down there? Do you know what caused it? Is it safe for us to stay here?" But his reaction was not what she expected. He crossed his arms and looked at her, and he slowly shook his head. Erica was confused and wanted to ask another question. But then, everything changed. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, you have to come with us," the officer said harshly. Erica's first response was to laugh, but she quickly realized that the officer was being serious. "Excuse me?" she finally asked, and the officer repeated himself. "You need to come to the police station right now, both of you." She just stared at him with eyes wide in disbelief, but the officer had no time to lose. He grabbed Erica by the arm and dragged her to the police car, and another officer grabbed Mark. It all happened so fast, and the couple had no choice but to do as they were told. "Officer, please listen. We didn't do anything." They tried to explain a few more times, but nobody paid any attention to them anymore. The first officer finally told them, "Shut up! You can save all that for the interrogation." And he mumbled something else under his breath that neither of them could understand. Upon hearing this, Erica turned pale. She understood that this was something serious, and she was getting ready to panic now. What the hell was going on? Erica and Mark silently sat in the back of the car as they drove away from the property. When he saw that her eyes filled with tears, he took her hand and whispered, "They'll be all right. Don't worry." He knew she was worried about leaving their kids alone right now, but, as harsh as it sounded, they had more important things to worry about. They did not speak a single word during the rest of the drive, and when they finally arrived at the station, that same unsympathetic officer led them into one of the interrogation rooms. "Sit down and wait here. Someone will be with you soon," he growled, and the door fell closed behind him with a loud bang. Mark and Erica looked around. Neither of them had ever been in a police station before, let alone an interrogation room, and she let out a deep sigh. "Well, at least we're together," she said with a weak smile. But that smile soon disappeared from her face. "What do you think the kids are doing? Will they be okay? What if the hole becomes even bigger?" However, this time Mark did not even get the chance to calm her down. The door swung open, and another officer appeared, introducing himself as Officer Daniels. "Mrs. Johnson, please follow me," he said, and Erica's eyes widened. "What? Me? Why?" But the officer was adamant, and he simply repeated himself once again. Erica knew that she had no choice. Hours later, Erica and Mark were reunited again. They had both undergone an intense interrogation about the sinkhole, and, to their surprise, the police seemed to be suspecting them of causing it. They had answered all the questions truthfully, and the police decided to send them home. But they would still keep an eye on them until they found who was really responsible. Both Erica and Mark had asked the officer interrogating them, "What is it that you found at the bottom of the sinkhole?" But neither of them had received a proper answer. It was obvious that the police had found something huge down there, but they were not willing to share what it was, and they sent the Johnsons home with clear instructions. The couple desperately wanted to prove their innocence. They had already been treated as criminals, and they hated it. So they decided to follow the instructions. They were not allowed to receive any visitors until the sinkhole issue was resolved, and they could not speak to anyone about what had happened. But they were still very curious about what was going on down there. In the following days, the Johnans barely left the house. Their property was swarming with police and an investigation team, and people were running around constantly. Mark observed them, and he couldn't help but wonder what they had found. Why didn't any of the officers want to tell them what it was? It was their property, after all. Didn't they deserve to know? "I'm going down there," Mark told his wife one night, feeling determined to find out the truth. "How can we prove that we are innocent if we don't even know what they're suspecting us of?" he added, convinced that his wife would agree with him. However, her reaction was a bit different from what he had expected. "Excuse me, you what? You're not going down there, Mark. Are you crazy?" she exclaimed as soon as he told her what he was planning to do. It immediately became clear that Mark was going to have to put his plan on hold. He knew that Erica would never forgive him if he went through with it. So they agreed to just wait it out for a few more days. Erica and Mark's morning was overshadowed by the constant police presence around their home, disrupting their sense of normalcy. Mark pretended to read the newspaper, his mind elsewhere, while Erica quietly sipped her coffee, her thoughts consumed by the situation. The house, once their peaceful haven, now felt like a stage under constant surveillance, their familiar routine replaced with a strained, uncomfortable new reality. In the small town, the sinkhole on the Johnsons' property was the main topic of discussion. "It's bottomless," one neighbor whispered eagerly at the grocery store. "Perhaps an old mine," another suggested thoughtfully at the post office. The most bizarre theories, like covert government experiments, were animatedly discussed at the diner. Erica, overhearing these wild speculations, felt a mix of disbelief and a nagging worry about the unknown. At home, the tension was palpable, hanging like a cloud over the Johnsons. Mark, attempting to lift spirits, suggested a family movie night, but it felt hollow and forced. Their children, intuitive and sensitive, sensed the stress and uncertainty, asking questions they couldn't answer. "Why are the police here, Daddy?" Mark's attempts at reassurance seemed hollow, his weariness increasingly evident to Erica, who watched him with deep concern. Seeking a brief respite, Erica visited the local diner, hoping for a distraction. She was immediately drawn into the patrons' discussions about their land. "It's surely connected to some old-town mystery," one diner speculated. Erica's heart skipped a beat. These baseless stories, while absurd, only added to her growing unease. The sinkhole was more than just a physical void. It had become a relentless source of speculation and worry. That evening, Mark and Erica sat together, enveloped in the day's heavy, oppressive mood. "Why won't they tell us anything?" Erica asked, her voice tinged with frustration. Mark, equally frustrated yet deeply concerned, replied, "We have to stay strong, for us and the kids." They held hands, a united front in their uncertainty and the looming mystery of the sinkhole that had so abruptly disrupted their once tranquil, predictable life. The quiet morning was shattered by the arrival of news vans and reporters at the Johnson farm. Cameras and microphones seemed to sprout from the ground, turning their once secluded home into the center of unwanted attention. Mark watched through the window, his expression a mix of disbelief and concern, as Erica stood beside him, a frown creasing her forehead at the sight of their private life becoming public spectacle. The Johnsons felt like animals in a zoo, with reporters and cameras peering into their lives. Every move they made seemed to be captured, analyzed, and broadcast. Erica pulled the curtains closed, trying to reclaim some semblance of privacy. But the sense of being constantly watched was inescapable. Even in their own home, they felt exposed and vulnerable, their privacy a thing of the past. Despite persistent knocking and calls from the media, Erica and Mark stood firm in their resolve not to speak. Following the police's instructions, they declined all interviews. "We can't say anything," Mark reminded Erica as she peeked through the blinds at a reporter holding out a microphone. Erica nodded, feeling a mix of relief and frustration at their silence, knowing it was the right thing but struggling with the urge to set the record straight. As the day wore on, the decision to remain silent weighed heavily on the couple. The growing public curiosity only added to their burden. Erica paced the living room, her mind racing with unspoken thoughts and unanswered questions. Mark sat quietly, his own silence a heavy cloak around him. They both understood the necessity of their silence, but it didn't make bearing it any easier. Despite the growing crowd of onlookers and media outside, the Johnsons felt more isolated than ever. Their home, once filled with the laughter and chatter of friends and neighbors, now felt like an island in a sea of prying eyes and whispering mouths. Erica leaned against Mark, seeking comfort in his presence, as they both gazed out at the sea of faces, feeling alone together in their besieged sanctuary. The phone rang, breaking the silence in the Johnson home. It was an old college friend of Mark's, now a geologist. He proposed a startling theory. The sinkhole might be man-made. Erica and Mark exchanged a look of surprise. The idea seemed far-fetched, but in the current situation, any theory felt worth considering. The geologist's voice was tinged with uncertainty, yet he spoke with a conviction that caught Mark's attention. After the call, the family sat around the kitchen table, discussing the geologist's theory. Could it really be man-made? Erica pondered aloud. The children listened intently as Mark outlined the geologist's thoughts. They were all skeptical, but the idea opened up a myriad of possibilities, none of which were particularly comforting. "It doesn't seem likely, but at this point, who knows?" Mark admitted, his voice heavy with uncertainty. The next day, Mark's curiosity led him to research man-made sinkholes. He scoured the internet, finding instances where human activities had led to similar occurrences. Each article he read seemed to both support and contradict the geologist's theory, leaving him in a state of conflicted skepticism. Erica watched over his shoulder, her mind racing with questions about what lay beneath their land. Later, the geologist called again, his tone more subdued. He confessed that while his theory had some basis, he lacked concrete evidence. "It's just a hunch, really," he admitted. This revelation left Mark and Erica feeling even more unsettled. They had hoped for some solid answers, but instead, they were left with more questions, the mystery of the sinkhole deepening. That night, Mark and Erica lay in bed, wide awake. The day's revelations spun in their heads, intertwining with their own fears and frustrations. The possibility of a man-made sinkhole added a new layer of complexity to their predicament. They turned towards each other, seeking comfort in whispered conversations, but found little solace. The uncertainty was overwhelming, and sleep remained elusive as they pondered over the new, unsettling information. The morning sun revealed a startling scene at the Johnson farm. Erica and Mark gazed out to see a sea of faces, people gathered on their property, lured by the media's coverage of the sinkhole. Cameras, microphones, and curious onlookers filled what was once their quiet, rural landscape. Mark clenched his jaw, a mix of anger and disbelief in his eyes, while Erica stood beside him, feeling a profound loss of privacy. As the day progressed, the police set up barricades in an attempt to control the growing crowd. The officers' voices were stern as they directed the onlookers, but their efforts seemed barely enough to keep the curious crowd at bay.
Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story.
Mark and Erica watched from their window, the police presence a stark reminder of how their life had been turned upside down. From the confines of their home, Erica and Mark felt a deep sense of helplessness. They watched as strangers roamed their property, pointing and speculating about the sinkhole. Each conjecture, each intrusive glance, felt like a violation, leaving them feeling exposed and vulnerable in their own home. The chaos unfolding outside was a constant reminder of their situation's surreal and uncontrollable nature. Reporters, undeterred by the police, approached the Johnsons' doorstep, clamoring for a statement. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, can you tell us more about the sinkhole?" they asked, shoving microphones forward. Mark and Erica, steadfast in their decision to remain silent, refused to engage, but the persistent knocking and shouting only added to the mounting tension inside their home. As evening fell, Erica and Mark felt a deep violation of their personal space. Their home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a stage where their every move was scrutinized. The relentless attention from strangers and the media left them feeling exposed and weary. They sat in their living room, the curtains drawn, longing for the privacy and peace they once took for granted. While surveying the chaotic scene outside, Mark overheard a fragment of a conversation that made him pause. Two unfamiliar figures stood near the edge of the sinkhole, speaking in hushed tones. "It's not just a natural occurrence," one of them said, glancing around furtively. The statement, vague yet suggestive, sparked a flicker of curiosity in Mark. He strained to hear more, but their voices were lost in the din of the crowd. Compelled to learn more, Mark decided to follow the strangers. He slipped out the back door, navigating through the throng of people. But in the dense crowd, keeping sight of them proved challenging. He caught brief glimpses of their figures moving through the mass of bodies, but they eventually vanished like shadows, leaving Mark with more questions than answers, and a growing sense of unease. Back inside, Mark recounted the overheard conversation to Erica. Their kitchen became a place of speculation and theory. Could they know something about the sinkhole? Erica pondered, her brow furrowed in thought. The couple considered the possibility that the sinkhole's origins were not as straightforward as they had been led to believe. This new piece of the puzzle added another layer of mystery to their already complicated situation. As they discussed the stranger's words, frustration mounted. The couple felt like they were trying to complete a puzzle without all the pieces. Every new bit of information seemed to lead to more dead ends. Mark paced the room, his mind racing, while Erica sat at the table, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of coffee, both feeling overwhelmed by the complexity and obscurity of the situation. The day ended with the Johnsons lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. The mystery of the sinkhole, now tinged with hints of secrecy and unknown motives, loomed large in their minds. Whispered conversations in the dark revolved around the day's events, but no conclusions were drawn. Sleep was elusive, as they were haunted by the relentless uncertainty and the sinking feeling that they were far from understanding the full story. Dawn broke to the sound of heavy machinery rolling onto the Johnsons' property. The police had brought in advanced excavation equipment to probe the depths of the sinkhole. From their window, Mark and Erica watched as the team set up, a sense of apprehension filling the air. The arrival of this equipment signaled a new phase in the investigation, one that might finally yield some answers. As the day progressed, the excavation team uncovered irregularities that suggested human involvement in the creation of the sinkhole. Mark overheard snippets of conversation among the police about these findings. The idea that someone might have intentionally caused the sinkhole sent a chill down his spine. Erica, upon hearing this, felt a surge of fear mixed with disbelief. How could their land be the center of such a mystery? The local newspaper ran a front-page story about the sinkhole, with insinuations about the Johnsons' potential involvement in illicit activities. Erica, reading the article, felt a surge of anger and helplessness. The speculative nature of the report only fueled the growing rumors and whispers in the community. Mark, equally upset, knew this article would only exacerbate their already precarious situation. The town was split in its opinion of the Johnsons. Some neighbors offered sympathetic looks and support, understanding the couple's plight. Others, influenced by the swirling rumors and the newspaper article, regarded them with suspicion and whispered behind their backs. This division created an undercurrent of tension and discomfort in the community, making the Johnsons feel even more isolated and scrutinized. As the sun set, Mark and Erica sat in their living room, the weight of public suspicion and speculation pressing down on them. The day's events had taken a toll, leaving them feeling drained and vulnerable. The scrutiny from both the media and their own community seemed unrelenting. They clung to each other, finding solace in their shared experience, but the burden of uncertainty and the fear of what tomorrow might bring lingered heavily in the air. The stillness of the night was shattered when Mark and Erica were jolted awake by the sound of someone trying to break into their house. Adrenaline surging, Mark quickly moved towards the noise, while Erica dialed 911. The shadowy figure outside fumbled at the window, unaware that he had been discovered. The couple's hearts pounded as they faced this new, immediate threat. Mark, holding a baseball bat, shouted at the intruder, his voice booming in the silent night. The figure at the window jumped, startled by the sudden confrontation. With a quick glance back, the intruder turned and fled into the darkness. Erica, still on the phone with the police, relayed the events, her voice trembling. The couple felt a surge of relief mixed with a heightened sense of vulnerability. The police arrived shortly after Erica's call, but their response was lackluster. Probably just a curious onlooker, nothing to worry about, one officer commented nonchalantly. Mark and Erica, frustrated and feeling dismissed, insisted that the incident was more than mere curiosity. The lack of serious concern from the authorities left them feeling even more exposed and helpless in their own home. That night, sleep was elusive for the Johnson family. Every creak and whisper of the wind sent a shiver of fear through them. They took turns watching out the window. The previous sense of security in their home now replaced by constant vigilance. The incident with the intruder had escalated their anxiety to new heights, leaving them to wonder what else might be lurking in the shadows. The following night, the sense of unease turned into reality when the intruder returned. This time, Mark and Erica were prepared. As the figure attempted to force entry, Mark confronted him, holding him at bay while Erica called the police. The intruder, caught in the act, struggled, but was overpowered by Mark. The couple's fear turned into determination as they held the intruder until the police arrived, their hearts racing with a mix of fear and adrenaline. With a mix of fear and resolve, Mark managed to restrain the intruder until the police arrived. The intruder, now caught in the act, ceased his attempts to escape, realizing he was overpowered. The couple's initial fear gave way to a sense of accomplishment, having successfully defended their home. The sound of sirens soon filled the night air as the police arrived. Officers quickly took the intruder into custody, much to Mark and Erica's relief. The couple watched as the intruder was led away in handcuffs, a barrage of questions flooding their minds. The police assured them they would investigate the matter thoroughly, but the couple remained uneasy. unsure of what this meant for their safety and the mystery of the sinkhole. After the police left, Mark and Erica sat in their living room, the silence around them feeling heavier than before. They waited anxiously for any updates from the police about the intruder. Every passing minute seemed to stretch into an eternity, their minds racing with possibilities and fears about what the intruder's motives could have been. As they waited, the couple discussed the potential connection between the intruder and the sinkhole. Could he have been involved somehow? Erica pondered, her voice filled with uncertainty. Mark shared her concerns, feeling a growing suspicion that the break-in might be linked to the larger mystery surrounding their property. The more they considered it, the more the lines between coincidence and conspiracy seemed to blur. The night concluded with a small yet significant feeling of hope. Despite the fear and uncertainty that dominated their thoughts, Mark and Erica clung to the possibility that this incident might lead to some answers about the sinkhole. The capture of the intruder, they hoped, could be a turning point in unraveling the mystery that had turned their lives upside down. The next day brought a significant development. The police confirmed that Mark and Erica were not involved in the creation of the sinkhole. An officer arrived at their home to deliver the news, lifting a huge burden off their shoulders. The couple exchanged glances of relief and gratitude. Finally, they were free from the cloud of suspicion that had hung over them since the sinkhole's discovery. Further investigation revealed the startling truth behind the sinkhole. The police informed Mark and Erica that illegal mining tunnels had caused the collapse. The revelation was shocking, and it brought a new perspective on the entire ordeal. The couple listened intently as the officer explained how the extensive underground tunneling had destabilized the land, leading to the formation of the sinkhole. The intruder, now in custody, was linked to a group of illegal miners. These miners had been tunneling underground in search of valuable stones or minerals, believing that the area beneath the Johnsons' land held a significant deposit. This discovery shed light on the intruder's motives and his interest in their property. Mark and Erica were astounded by the scale and audacity of the operation. With this new information, Mark and Erica began to piece together the events of the past few weeks. They now understood the strange occurrences on their property, the mysterious figures, and the intruder's desperate attempts to gain access to their land. The reality of illegal miners operating right beneath their feet was both frightening and eye-opening, revealing a hidden world they had never imagined existed. As the day came to an end, Mark and Erica shared a profound sigh of relief. The mystery that had turned their lives upside down was finally solved. Though they were still processing the incredible revelations, they felt a sense of closure. They were innocent, and the truth about the sinkhole was out in the open. It was a moment of reprieve, a chance to start healing from the ordeal. In the days following the revelation, the Johnsons experienced a heartwarming shift in the community's attitude. Neighbors and townsfolk who had once eyed them with suspicion now came forward with apologies and words of support. Mark and Erica were touched by the gestures, receiving home-cooked meals, sympathetic notes, and offers of help. The sense of community, which had frayed during the ordeal, began to mend, reinforcing the bonds that had been temporarily weakened. The media's narrative changed dramatically with the discovery of the illegal mining operation. Reporters who had once hounded the Johnsons for scandalous angles now focused on the intrigue of the mining story. This shift provided Mark and Erica with much-needed respite. The constant presence of news vans and cameras dwindled, giving the family the space and peace they had desperately missed. The local police chief visited the Johnsons to extend a formal apology for the distress caused by the investigation. He acknowledged that the situation had been handled with less sensitivity than it deserved, and promised to pursue the illegal miners vigorously. The apology, while not erasing the difficulties they faced, was a step towards closure for the family, acknowledging the injustice they had endured. In the quiet of their home, Mark and Erica reflected on the ordeal and how it had brought them closer together. They had faced suspicion, fear, and invasion of privacy, but had emerged stronger as a unit. The experience highlighted the depth of their resilience and the unbreakable bond they shared. The couple felt a renewed sense of appreciation for each other and their family's unity. The story concluded with the Johnsons making a decision to turn their ordeal into a catalyst for change. They became advocates for stronger community bonds and more stringent oversight of land use. Their experience with the sinkhole and the illegal mining operation underscored the need for awareness and vigilance in land management. Determined to prevent others from facing similar challenges, they worked towards fostering a more informed and united community.